It's on understanding text structure. It's going to be in your classwork, and the topic is going to be reading. So like I said, we're not going to talk about all the different kinds of text structure today. We're going to focus on just one for today. So first thing we're going to talk about is, what is a text structure? When we say structure, we use that same word to mean like buildings or frames for things. Not frames like painting frames, but frames like for buildings, for houses. So for our house, for the school, for a fire department, all of those have structures, framework. So a text structure is the framework for a piece of writing. So it's talking about how, I guess you could say, how it's built, how it's put together. So taking a look at some of like the different buildings we have, you organize different texts, different piece of writing in different ways. So for example, the way that you build a lighthouse is not the same as the way you build a regular house. Lighthouses have to be very, very tall so that you can see them from far away. They have to have the light up at the top that goes around and around and around. But your house doesn't have to be that tall. Your house doesn't have to have a big light at the top that goes around and around. So houses don't normally go up as high as something like a skyscraper or a lighthouse. They're built differently. Same way, when people write different texts, different piece of writing, they're not written the same. They even make them out of different materials. So we could use like brick or cement or wood, depending on what we want to do. Again, same is true about text structures. You wouldn't write every piece of writing the exact same way. Depending on what you want to do, depending on what you want to say, and what you want your reader to learn or to know or to understand, you're going to use different kinds of structures. So it depends on what you want to tell your reader. That lets you choose, or to help you choose, what text structure to use. We're going to focus on one kind of text structure today. Yes, Alexa. Okay. So that's fine, but at least we know the day now. What's up, Jaylene? Well, like I said, we loaded this up before we went to PE. So the reason why I had you load it up is because it's up to you whether you want to look at it on your screen or whether you just want to look at my screen and follow along. So it's kind of your choice. We're not going to go through the whole thing today. We're just going to focus on this one kind of text structure, just chronological order. So chronological order is when you explain things in the order that they happen. So sometimes people will call it sequence, or they'll use the word sequential, or they might even say time order, because like your watch goes in order, right? From the earliest time to the latest time. It always goes around and around the same way. Unless your watch is broken, then it might move around in different ways. But normally a watch goes in the same order, beginning to the end. So let's take this frog for example. If an author was going to write about a frog, why might they talk about the frog in chronological order? What happens first? What happens in the middle? What happens at the end? Why might they write it that way? Jadine, what do you think? If the author was going to write about the frog, what might they say in chronological order, like first, second, third, fourth? Well, what could you start with? What do you think? Okay, what it does. If you're going to talk about what it does, maybe you're going to explain how a frog eats. You could say, well, first the frog has to do this, and then the frog has to do this, and then next the frog needs to do this. Or Messiah brought up a good option too. What if we talk about the life cycle of the frog? Yeah, so if we were talking about the frog, we could talk about maybe how it finds its food, how it finds its home, like you said, where it lives. Messiah brought up the life cycle. We could talk about when it's born and then how it grows up, when it's an adult frog, go in order that way. So there are some clues when you're reading a piece of text, a piece of writing, that lets you know, or that gives you clues that it's written in chronological or sequential order. A lot of times when something is written in chronological and sequential order, they use words like first, next, later, then, and finally. Because those kinds of words let us know what happens at the beginning, what happens after that, what happens at the end. Something else that might be written in sequential order could be something like a recipe. Because if you're gonna make a recipe, can you do the recipe out of order? Can you just do whatever step you feel like next? Or do you have to follow the steps? If I was gonna bake a cake, could I get flour, put it into a bowl, put the bowl in an oven, then take it out of the oven, then put eggs in it and sugar, and then butter, and then put frosting on top? Would that make it a cake? No, I like your face. That probably wouldn't be a cake that I would want to eat, would it? It would just be warm flour with raw eggs and frosting on top. That sounds kind of gross. So, for a recipe, you have steps you need to follow. And you can't just decide, oh, okay, my first step, put it in the oven. You have to do the steps in order. Otherwise, what you're going to end up with is maybe not what you wanted in the beginning. Yes, Jadine. You're right. If I'm not following those steps for a cake and I just put, say, flour into the oven, it's just dry and it might end up just burning the flour. And that's not going to taste very good, even if I do eat the flour. So, like directions, and they gave us an example here of macaroni and cheese. So it says, have you ever made macaroni and cheese? It's simple. First, boil the water and make the macaroni. Then, you make your cheese sauce. After the sauce is ready, you mix it with the macaroni, and then you can bake it all in the oven. And finally, you eat it. Oh, ramen's another good one. You have to follow those steps, right? You can't take the noodles, take a bite, and then put the seasoning on top and then put hot water. Because then your noodles aren't going to taste like anything. They're just going to be hard and crunchy. You got to follow the steps right. Messiah, I agree with you. If someone tried to make me a cake like that, by just putting the flour in the oven and then afterwards putting in eggs and stuff, I don't think I'd let them make cake anymore. So take a look at those clue words that they used. First, you boil the water. Then you make the sauce. After the sauce is ready, you mix it. And then finally, you eat it. Okay. We have two paragraphs here. I'm gonna read them both, and then you're gonna tell me which one you think is in chronological order. So we have a green and a white. The green paragraph says, Pennsylvania has many historic sites. You can visit Revolutionary War sites like Valley Forge. You can also visit important locations from the Civil War, like Gettysburg. Finally, you can also see the site of the first oil well in Titusville. Pennsylvania has many neat places to visit. The white paragraph says, through the ages, Pennsylvania has seen many interesting events. The state was founded in 1681 by William Penn. Later, Pennsylvania was the site of important Revolutionary War battles. After that, Pennsylvania was home to new factories during the Industrial Revolution. Today, Pennsylvania continues to make history. Who can tell me which paragraph is the sequential order one, the one that's written in first, second, third order? Messiah, what do you think? Is it the green paragraph or the white paragraph? This kind of green-blue one? That one is not the sequential order. Look at some of the clues they gave us here. They didn't use first, but they did use words like later, after that, and today. So they're letting us know, and they started with the oldest stuff first, and then they went a little bit after that, a little bit after that, and they ended up with the newest stuff at the end. Yes, Jadine. You're right. Well, both of them tell me facts, but one of them puts them in order. They started with the oldest stuff first. Look at the date, 1681. That's a long time ago. So they started way before, and then they keep being more recent and more recent and more recent. But you are right. It does have a lot of facts for us. Okay, Jada. Okay, another chance. Two paragraphs. We have the green blue one again. Oh, sorry. They're telling us which one is which one is in the correct order. So the white one was the one in the correct in chronological order. And again, they have things like the date. They have later, after that, today. If they put the years that something was happening, it's really simple to tell if it's in chronological order because you'll notice the oldest dates are first and then the newer ones are afterward. So if it goes 1681, 1781, 1881, 1981, and it kind of sounds like they're counting up, then you know it's in chronological. Okay, so chronological order. Remember, that means that it's in first, second, third, fourth. What happened first? What happened next? What happened after that? What happened at the end? Who can tell me one in order? Who can tell me one of those clues or keywords that kind of gives us a hint that it's written in chronological order? What's a word that I might see that gives me a clue this is chronological? Messiah? What's a word I might see that gives me a clue? What? First. First is a word that'll give me a clue. Kylie, what's another one? Not structure, but so Messiah said first. Second. Second is another one. If I see first, second, third, fourth, they're telling me things in order. What's another word that might tell me or might give me a clue that it's written in chronological order? In order of what happened first, what happened, what happened. What would you say at the end? So Messiah started with first, which is a good place to start. But what's a word that might tell us we're at the end? Jada? What would be the opposite of first, Jada? Okay. Well, at least we can still type in the chat. You're right. Last. First, last. What if I was telling you what's happening? I told you about my day. Well, first I went to the store. What word could I use to let you know the rest of my story? We said second, first, second. But if I'm telling you about my day, I wouldn't say first, second, third. I could say first I went to the store. Chase, what else? What could I say? Next, I could say and then. So Alexa, you have another one? Later. Very good. So I could say first, second. I could say next or later or and then. I could say at the end or finally. Any of those would be big clues that I'm reading something in chronological order. From the first thing, next, to the next, finally, to the last. Now, like I said, there are other text structures that we're going to talk about, but for today, we're just going to focus on chronological. We're going to practice with that. I want you all to go to classwork. I want you to go to reading for the topic, and I want you to find this assignment. Writing using chronological order. Like a butterfly life cycle. That would be a good one to put in chronological order. Because you wouldn't want to tell it all out of order, because then it'd be very confusing. Yes, Alexa. It's okay. Hang on. Yeah, so go ahead and go into classwork. Click on reading for your topic, and then find writing using chronological order. All right, what's up, JD? Yeah, like a recipe. A recipe would be in order. So that's exactly what this first page tells us. Yes, ma'am. I'm going to show you. So make sure you have this open. Again, it's in classwork. Topic is reading. Okay, so the first slide, the first page is just an example. Baking a cake. The first step in making a cake is to ensure that you have all the ingredients needed. Next, you preheat the oven and you grease up a cake pan. While the oven's heating up, you measure and mix up your ingredients. You pour the mixture into the cake pan and place it into the oven. Lastly, you set a timer and you wait patiently for the cake to bake. So that's their example for us. On the second page, slide 2, it says, your turn. We're not going to write about baking a cake because they already wrote that for us. So well, they skipped the actual ingredients. They just said you mix up the ingredients. They didn't put that part. They didn't get too specific with it. But on the next slide, ours, it says write about bathing a dog using the text structure chronological order. And then it gives us a reminder of different words we can use. We could use first, second, next, last or lastly, and finally. So in this white box, you're going to click on it and you're going to write about how would you bathe a dog, and you're going to use chronological order. So you're going to tell me how would you start to bathe the dog, what part would be in the middle, what part would be at the end. So whatever steps you would need to do to bathe a dog. No problem. What's up, Alexa? This one, yes, I'm going to take a look. It's not going to be just on its own because it's not the only text structure. So you're going to get a grade on this, but it's going to go together with grades for other text structures too. Because this isn't the only kind we're practicing. Yes, Noah, what's up? You know what? That's a good point. If you don't have a dog or if you've never had a dog, then what I want you to do is I want you to write a chronological order paragraph, and I want you to tell me, how do you comb your hair in the morning? Or how do you get ready in the morning? Okay? So if you've never taken your dog a bath or you don't have a dog or any kind of pets, I want you to tell me, how do you get ready in the morning? Yes, Kylie. So you're going to tell me chronological order. When you get up in the morning, what's the first thing you do to get ready? Then what's the next thing? And you want to write it all here in this white box. So it's going to be a little bit different for everybody because not everybody does everything in the exact same order. But I want you to just think about like this morning. You woke up. What's the first thing you did when you woke up? And then what did you do? What happened after that? And what was next? You're just going to give me like the steps that you follow when you get ready in the morning. Yeah, whatever comes first because everybody does things in different orders. So you're just going to write, how do you get ready? But if you have a dog, if you've ever given a dog a bath, you can write about that too. So what are the steps to giving a dog a bath? And again, don't forget to use these words here. They gave us a reminder of different words we can use to help explain. We can use words like first, second, next, last, and finally. Well, make sure you're writing it in the white box, Messiah. So at the end, you should have a nice paragraph written here in the white box that explains either the steps to washing a dog or explains the steps to get ready in the morning. That's in classwork, it's in reading, and the assignment is writing using chronological order. Okay.